James Ambrose Johnson Jr., also known as Rick James, was an American record producer, musician, singer, and songwriter. He was born and grew up in Buffalo, New York, and started playing music as a teen. He joined several bands before he went to the U.S. Navy Reserve to dodge the Army draft. He relocated to Toronto, Canada in 1964 and created the rock band the Mynah Birds. They landed a record deal with Motown Records in 1966, but James had to quit his work with the band when the military tracked him down and found him guilty of desertion. He was in jail for a few months. After he was released, he moved to California and formed different rock and funk groups in the late 1960s and early 1970s. James formed the Stone City Band in 1977, which was a local sensation in his hometown of Buffalo. He then achieved fame as a recording artist after he signed with Gordy Records, a Motown label, and released the album Come Get It in 1978. The album had the hit songs You and I and Mary Jane. In 1981, he released his best-selling album, Street Songs, which had hits like Give It to Me Baby and Super Freak. The latter song was his most popular crossover single, blending funk, disco, rock, and new wave elements. James also sang soulful ballads like Fire and Desire and Ebony Eyes. He was a successful songwriter and producer for other artists such as Tina Marie, the Mary Jane Girls, The Temptations, Eddie Murphy, and Smokey Robinson. James reached the peak of his mainstream success with his album Glow in 1985 and his role on the popular TV show The A-Team. His later albums did not sell as much as the previous ones. MC Hammer used James's Super Freak for his 1990 hit You Can't Touch This, which won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Song in 1991. James got his only Grammy for writing the song. His drug addiction and legal troubles hurt his career in the early 1990s. He was found guilty of kidnapping and hurting two women in separate cases while he was high on crack cocaine in 1993, and he got a 3-year prison sentence at Folsom State Prison. He got out on parole in 1996 and released the album Urban Rhapsody in 1997. His health issues stopped his career again after he had a mild stroke at a concert in 1998, and he said he would semi-retire. In 2004, James's career came back to mainstream pop culture after he was on an episode of Chappelle's Show. The segment was a Charlie Murphy True Hollywood Stories-style skit that made fun of James's crazy lifestyle in the 1980s. This made people more interested in his music, and he went back to perform on the road that year. He died later that year from heart failure at age 56. About Rick James's net worth. According to some sources, Rick James's net worth at the time of his death was estimated to be between $1 million and $5 million. His income source was mostly from being a successful soundtrack artist, as well as a singer, musician, record producer, and composer for other artists. Rick James's assets and cars are not well documented, but he was known for his lavish and extravagant lifestyle, which often involved drugs, parties, and women. He owned a mansion in Hollywood Hills, which he later sold to avoid bankruptcy. He also had a collection of expensive jewelry, clothes, and musical instruments. He was fond of custom-made cars, such as a Rolls-Royce, a Corvette, and a Cadillac. Early life. Johnson was born on February 1, 1948, in Buffalo, New York, to Mabel and James Ambrose Johnson Sr. He had 7 siblings. He served as an altar boy and sang in the choir at St. Bridget's Catholic Church. James's father, who worked in the auto industry, abandoned the family when James was 10. His mother was a dancer for Katherine Dunham and later cleaned during the day and ran numbers for the Buffalo crime family at night to make a living. James's mother would bring him along on her collection route, and he saw performers like John Coltrane, Miles Davis, and Etta James in the bars where she worked. James wrote later, in his autobiography Glow, that he had sex for the first time at age 9 or 10 with a 14-year-old girl, saying his kinky nature came in early. James went to Bennett High School before he dropped out. James started using drugs when he was young and was arrested for breaking and entering as a teen. Because he was in jail for stealing, James joined the United States Navy Reserve at 14 or 15, lying about his age to skip the draft. He also played drums for local jazz groups in New York City at that time. He was ordered to go to Vietnam because he missed his twice-monthly reserve sessions on the USS Enterprise. Personal life. Relationships and children. James and Sybil Morgan, who used to be a singer and songwriter, had 2 kids. They had a girl, Tienza, and a boy, Rick Jr. James was in a relationship with actress Linda Blair from 1982 to 1984. He read an interview where Blair said he was sexy and reached out to her. He got to know the actress better during a brief stay at the Chateau Marmont in Hollywood. Blair got pregnant and had an abortion early in their relationship. James said in his memoir, "I loved Linda and it hurt me that she would abort our child without even wanting to talk to me about it first. I still look back on her choice with sadness and wonder about our baby and how having that child might have changed my life." His hit song Cold-Blooded was about his relationship with Blair. He wrote in his memoir, "It was about how Linda could freeze my blood." James started a relationship with Tanya Hijazi, a 17-year-old who liked to party, in 1989. They fell in love in 1990. In 1993, they had their only child and James's youngest, Tasman. They got married in 1996 after they both got out of prison for hurting Mary Sauger and Francis Alley, but they divorced in 2002. James had a close bond with Tina Marie, whom he met and worked with in 1979. Tina Marie said they were engaged for 2 weeks. They continued to work together until 2004 when Marie put out her comeback album, La Donna, which had their duet, I Got You. Tina Marie said she was devastated by his death and became addicted to painkillers after he died. Career. In 1964, Rick James fled to Toronto, narrowly escaping an assault and befriending musicians Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. Under the name Ricky James Matthews, he formed the Mynah Birds, recording a single for Columbia Records in 1965. After lineup changes and a move to Detroit to record with Motown, James encountered his idols Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. A financial conflict in 1966 exposed James' fugitive status, leading to Navy repercussions. James turned himself in, facing hard labor. After escaping the Brooklyn Naval Brig twice, legal assistance from his mother, cousin Louis Stokes, and John Bracken led to a reduced sentence. Released in 1967, he returned to Toronto, faced another arrest, and collaborated with Neil Merriweather at Motown. Using the alias Ricky Matthews, he wrote and produced for Motown artists. James moved to Los Angeles with musician Greg Reeves, who hoped to benefit from Neil Young's fame. There, James encountered Jim Morrison and experienced a surreal night. Reeves joined Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, while James explored various musical projects, including recording with Bruce Palmer and participating in bands like Heaven and Earth and Hot Lips. His diverse musical journey continued with collaborations and experiences in Toronto and Los Angeles. Solo career. Rick James' musical journey began in 1973 when he signed with A&M Records, releasing his debut single, My Mama, in 1974. He formed the Stone City Band and secured a contract with Motown's Gordy Records in 1977. His debut solo album, Come Get It, in 1978 went double platinum, featuring hits like You and I and Mary Jane. James continued his success with albums like Bustin' Out of L7, 1979, and Street Songs, 1981, which included hits like Super Freak. James' career included collaborations with artists like Tina Marie and Prince, but a rivalry with Prince developed after a tour in 1980. Despite controversies, James released successful albums like Throwin' Down, 1982, and Cold-Blooded, 1983. He also produced hits for the Mary Jane Girls and the Temptations. James faced challenges due to his provocative image and advocacy for marijuana use on stage. He criticized MTV for rejecting his Super Freak video, accusing the network of racism. In 1988, he signed with Warner Brothers Records, releasing Wonderful. James' life was marked by controversy and health issues, including diabetes and drug use. He died in 2004 at the age of 56, with the cause listed as natural, attributed to pulmonary and cardiac failure. His autopsy revealed the presence of various drugs, but none were deemed life-threatening. Fans paid tribute to him, and his ashes were buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo. Thank you for watching. For more exciting content like this, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell notification.